Yes, indeed, Jeffrey. Honorable Dacham Bagos, APC House of Reps candidate for Just South, Just East Federal Constituency and member of the 9th National Assembly, joins us now this morning. And he, of course, represented that particular federal constituency at the House of Reps at the 9th Assembly. Honorable Bagos, good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief.
Thank you. Good morning. I always like the fact that you can pronounce my name very well, like you are from Plateau. So this is the second time I'm commending you.
Well,
Jeffrey will always have to struggle, so he ran away. Good morning.
Well, I'm going to have to ask for a reward for that particular proficiency.
Absolutely.
Very soon.
Absolutely. We have Plateau potatoes, so we'll send Plateau potatoes to Lagos.
All right, let's get right into it. And, conveniently for this particular conversation, you're also from the North Central, where killings are ongoing. There were killings in Mangu, but we'll get to that in the course of the program. Congratulations would be in order, Honorable Bagos, because the last time we had you expressed aspirations, I believe, for the Senate, but you've secured the ticket for the House of Reps to continue to represent the constituency where you represented. And so, as we begin a national conversation, what is uppermost in my mind and for many would be this ongoing probe into the operations of a fake agency. The head of the Civil Service of the Federation appeared before a committee probing that particular matter, and of course she has given a statement accepting responsibility. But the matter now borders on fair hearing as questions are being asked about when the House of Representatives will invite the Chief of Staff to also provide an account about what he knows about this, because he's been named by this man who has now been, termed a fake DG. I'd like you to weigh in on this, as you also represented at the House of Representatives in the 9th Assembly, during which the Chief of Staff was the Speaker.
First of all, I followed the hearing shared by my brother Gagdi, in the sense that normally hearings like this, you wait for the final report that will be laid on the floor of the House. Then you predetermine the recommendation and what was now discovered from the investigation. But from what usually happens on the floor during committee meetings and investigations like this, whosoever that the committee deemed fit to invite, the person will and shall appear. So, as long as if the committee send out an invitation to our leader, the former speaker, definitely I can assure you that he will appear, because he is a seasoned legislator, and he knows the rules of the House, and he will come and table his defense. But as long as he has not yet appeared, and as long as I have not yet had an information that he has been invited, till then. But I'm so confident that if such invitation is being extended to him, knowing the rules of the House, he will definitely honor the invitation of the House to actually give his own defense as it is. Because what happened is quite unfortunate, and it's something that ought not to have happened. At the same time, commend the head of service for opening up to own to some certain aspect. But again, as a Nigerian, not just as a legislator or someone that has been in the House, we want to see that the recommendations that will come out from this wonderful committee, and the recommendations have been taken. At the same time, even the investigation by the ICPC will be able to take us to a certain level. Because my problem with the situation where we are today as a country is that at the end of the day, when all this is done, we don't follow up with dispensing and carrying out justice or be able to punish who needs to be punished at what particular time, because whosoever might have wants to do this again will remember that, look, someone today is in jail because of what has happened.
But Honorable Bogas, if the head of the committee is, asking the head of the civil service to differentiate two signatures before, two documents before her, asserting that one is counterfeit and the other is original, does it look like fair hearing to you? Can that be done without, the professionalism deployed from a forensic expert? And will the House of Reps have the spine to invite its former principal amid this continuing probe?
Absolutely, they can invite him, but as I don't know how they got the evidence of the two documents, but as long as evidence is before the committee can present it for clarification. So if it's now presenting it to the head of service, meaning that was that what their office honored, they'll be able to determine that. But when the former speaker comes in, he'll be able to clarify that, look, this was my signature and this is not my signature. Either way, so he is the only person to be able to clarify that at the end of the day. But any evidence that is before the committee that is carrying out any investigation, the committee has the right to present such evidence for clarification. So if that document that the committee has gives them one or two leeway to the investigation, definitely they will seek clarification from whosoever they feel that person might be one of the authority officer from where the document might have come in through the channel of communication in the civil service. So,
well, Honorable, it's interesting to see you refer to Honorable Gbajabiamila as your leader, even though he has left and switched to the executive arm of government.
Absolutely, he was my leader because I was in the 9th Assembly. Okay. He was the Speaker of the House, so definitely you can say that he's not the leader. Because I was in the opposition, but he was the leader of the 9th Assembly at that time.
So maybe, well, let me see if I can squeeze in as many questions as possible. Have you ever been a part of any committee at all that had this kind of familiar case, and then there was an investigative hearing was there, and perhaps you can walk us through the end of how that report ended, and perhaps if you were present at the 10th Assembly, what would you have done differently? And then my final question would just be, which of these phrases best describes this assembly? There are those who describe it as double rubber stamp, and there are those who describe it as a toothless bulldog, because how do you summon the IGP to present Prince Adeyemi, and then he tells you that go secure a court warrant before you can ask me to present him before the House?
Well, we're in the 9th Assembly, we were called rubber stamps, and now again, the 10th Assembly still called a rubber stamp.
Double rubber stamp.
Public perception in every assembly since the assembly has been established has been there. The more people feel the heat of the economy, the more people will call its representative whatsoever name they deem fit because of what they are feeling, that either they are not having fair representation or whatsoever. So definitely you will have that, because we all know how the economy is hitting hard on the people. I've been part of several investigative committees in the House, and I have chaired other committees in the House. And like I said earlier, our issues and what the major problem we usually have, fortunately and unfortunately, what usually comes out of the National Assembly in terms of motions and in terms of investigations, at the end of the day, you come out with a recommendation. And those recommendations, we usually push those recommendations to the relevant agencies that are supposed to execute our recommendations. We usually have challenges from relevant agencies that are starting with the responsibility of executing our recommendations, either from motions or either from committees like this. For instance, now, you now have a recommendation that, look, we have investigated this agency and so such person needs to be either suspended or such person needs to be queried, such things need to be done A, B, C, and D. But you find out that at the end of the day, the House will finish its work. Public funds is being spent, but recommendations from the motions of the House is not being carried out at the end of the day by one or two relevant agencies. I can tell you that has been the challenge of the House since time immemorial, because the House today cannot say that, look, you should be cannot give you or give any head of any agency an express dismissal later because we did not employ such a person. So those relevant agencies that the House has finished investigation to carry out those recommendations has usually been the problem of the House, time immemorial. So we do our work. At the end of the day, we get it wrong somewhere. We will do a deal, make a law. At the end of the day, it's being interpreted in the court of law differently. So the public perception in the House in terms of knowing the real working of the House, the role of the House in other areas has been the major problem. At the end of the day, to see that, look, this is where the House stops. This is what the judiciary will continue, and this is where the executive will carry out. As long as we don't differentiate these three arms, we will always have a problem as representative of the people, because we usually overpromise during campaign.
I'm not sure you've answered the question as to what you would have done differently if perhaps you were in that ad hoc committee as a member, or perhaps maybe as the chair.
If I were in the House, looking at the terms, I don't know what is the terms of reference to of the investigation. If I were the chair, with my background from as an anti-corruption expert, definitely I will do what I need to do according to the terms of reference. So I can't say that this is what I could have done differently, because I don't know the terms of reference of that committee at the moment. At the same time, I'm not in the House at the moment. At the same time, again, I cannot predetermine the outcome of that committee. But if I were in the House, I'll give the Nigerian people what they need to have in terms of what it ought to be done rightly.
Vargas, it's a question of confidence in the public. Whatever government there is, whether it's a PDP or an APC government, there must be an attempt to rebuild confidence in the system. And so when people ask a lot of questions, no matter how rational or irrational those questions are, it comes from somewhere. Because we've seen committees sit and we've seen the outcomes, and as you said, it goes nowhere in some of these cases because the people that are supposed to execute resolutions or recommendations are far and in between. But let's talk politics. And this politics has to do with your party. Now you're a member of the APC. And the opposition has been complaining bitterly. Yes, opposition will always complain. But let's look at whether their characterization of the issues is fair or not. One, they are saying that the ruling party is muscling the system, shrinking the civic space with court issues. They are blaming the APC for a lot of these court issues. Now look at the one that's going on in Osun State. Arrest is one-sided arrest, and the CP is getting a lot of flags according to what is being reported. And then the issue of INEC. So a straight question from a fair mind will be, do you think that in this coming election, ahead of this election, I'm not just talking about from the general election, the APC is playing fair or is ready to play fair based on some of the things that the opposition has characterized as the activities of the ruling party and institutions in cahoot with them?
When I was in the opposition, I complained the same. And when I complained the same, I now discovered that my party wasn't fair to me, not even just only the opposition. I'm not even saying this because I'm no longer in the PDP. But you remember very well, Geoffrey, that when I won elections in 2023 to the 10th Assembly, either way, we were removed from the court. When we were challenged in the court by the ruling party and other parties, because the person that replaced me in the house today was a Labour Party person, not even the APC. So I can tell you, all the political parties, or most of the political parties, their house is not even in order for leadership. Leadership in the sense that most of them have carried one challenge or the other, aside the issue of leadership for the Nigerian people to see that how we can get proper opposition in the country. And again, the sense of the opposition is another challenge. Since 1999, I've always complained this, Geoffrey, but it's the same face in leadership in the opposition at one point or the other that has been the cycle. And the young people have not yet gotten the understanding and how to be part of the system in governance. So, the opposition, are they even ready? I don't think so. Were we ready when we were in opposition? We weren't ready. We were so disorganized. We were so selfish on some certain issues, and that's where that's why we are where we are today. So the issue of either blaming the APC or not blaming the APC, let's check the opposition. How ready is the opposition?
Yes, there's the element, my apologies, there's the element of opposition putting his house in order, but there's also the element of the opposition accusing the ruling party of using the institutions of state to suppress them, or one way or the other, through court. For instance, the latest that has to do with the attempted deregistration of ADC and the rest. It was a very embarrassing situation where Justice Lufu had ruled against a stay of proceeding by a higher court, and he was thoroughly reprimanded at a time when there was another stay of execution filed by INEC to the Court of Appeal. And they also reprimanded him. The judgment has come out, and we understand that the AGF was joined in that suit. And people are wondering, what are you doing? Is it that this APC just want to be the only party on the ballot, or you want to take out the real contenders and leave participants? So that is the question I'm asking.
Yeah, if you had followed some of our conversations, and for me, I've not hidden from the fact that as a Democrat, I prefer opposition, and in short, I even work under pressure when I'm being opposed to some certain extent. So either the APC, the ruling party, our party wants to muzzle opposition or not. Most of us are not in support of any notion or being joined or whatever. But I can tell you again, you will not shy away from people that, look, they can be so overzealous to say that, look, this is an opportunity for us to wade in, to see that, look, now there's a window to be able to see that whatever opposition we have as a party, to be able to wade it. You can't shy away from that. But as a Democrat, and even knowing the national chairman that is on Plateau as a Democrat, he will tell you that we want opposition in as much as he will want to canvass for support from any other political party. But having a one-party system, definitely I'm not in support. Having opposition, I'm 100% in support as a person, as a Democrat, as an activist. But again, putting our house in order by so doing, saying that there are some certain elements, like I said, there are some certain elements that might want to see that, oh, let's cash in because they can be overzealous in a certain way to do whatever they think they can do. That I'm not in support. But we can't shy away from the fact that, look, one-party state system is not the best for this country. Internationally, democratically, and as a people politically, and looking at the younger generation that I stand for, it is not I can tell you I don't support that. But for my party to win in the 2027 election, I support that. But for opposition to come in and challenge us at the same time, I support that so that it will make us work and convince the people on what we need to do accordingly.
Well, I couldn't miss your position on the lack of readiness of the opposition. If the APC appears to be the one that has its house in order, some would also question the APC's commitment to internal democracy, citing the issues that surrounded the primaries where there were disputes over candidates who were presented as consensus, and we're wondering what really is the idea of consensus if people are not in agreement over who the consensus candidate is. And some would say prayers for you that this politics of might in the APC will not blow your way someday in the future, Honorable Bagos. But we cannot.
For me, I won't speak. I'm not the national secretary of the party or the publicity secretary. And again, for me, I contested my primaries and I won squarely. Whatsoever that might have happened in other places, I'm not aware. But then I can tell you, I had my own primaries and I won squarely. But what matters most, you see, Bukala, what matters most is that what happens during primaries is that, look, every person has a right to be a candidate in any other party. Why are we so worried that if you are not a candidate of APC or PDP, you cannot contest elections in 2027? Now the Court of Appeal has made it very clear that the parties that they were afraid for deregistration, every party has a right, as long as you have the people, and as long as you are a Democrat, and as long as you are a genuine person on ground. There is no way that my constituency that I know very well, with over 400,000 registered voters, I will contest election and I get the support of my people. And you tell me that because the ruling party is in my state will come and upturn my election? It's not possible. You can't even get that because the people are with the candidate. So that is the issue that I always tell politicians, that look, get the support of the people. Whatever party you are, you will win your election. People will defend your votes wheresoever it stops. I know that we have the challenges either at the judiciary or any other.
Honorable Bagos, we cannot say.
Go and win your election.
Honorable Bagos, we cannot say that it is the same case for all other candidates in other categories of primaries that were contested. There were many who said they won fair and square, but they were eased out of the process. We will anchor at this point, and thank you very much for coming on the program. Honorable Dachang Bagos is the APC House of Reps candidate for Just South East Federal Constituency and member of the 9th Assembly. Thank you so much for coming on the program, sir.
Thank you, Bukola. Thank you.